We've got this story today called I Will Keep the Morning Watch, and honestly, it all centers around this kid they nicknamed No Good Bill. And what's wild is how this one frustrating, kind of weird story from childhood can totally flip the script on how we think about something as personal as prayer.
But before we dive into Bill's story, let me ask you something real quick. Think about your daily conversations. Are they fresh? Or do you ever find yourself just saying the same things over and over again, kind of on repeat? Just tuck that thought away for a minute as we get started.
All right, so let's meet our main character, John. He comes bursting through the door after school, just absolutely beaming, right? He is so pumped to tell his mom about this incredible home run he hit. It's that classic perfect kid moment of pure triumph, and he's practically buzzing with excitement.
But his mom stops him right there, and her tone is really serious. She says she just got off the phone with a Mrs. Thurgood, and her son, Bill, had come home crying because the boys, and especially John, wouldn't let him play baseball. So yeah, that home run story, it's gonna have to wait.
Well, John instantly gets defensive. He doesn't get what the big deal is. To him, Bill is just odd. He even has this mean nickname for him, No Good Bill. John is just totally convinced that if his mom really understood what this kid was like, she'd be on his side, 100%.
So John starts to explain. He tells her how every single morning, Bill follows this exact script. It's not a real conversation, it's more like he's reading from a teleprompter. Nice day, isn't it? I slept well last night.
And it gets even weirder. At the end of the day, he does it again. A different script, but just as robotic, just as impersonal as the one from the morning. Every single day, the same lines. And after he says them, nothing. Total silence. You can kind of start to see why the other kids are so frustrated.
So John finishes his whole explanation with this question, feeling completely justified. To him, it's obvious. Bill's behavior is so bizarre, so disconnected. Of course they don't want him on the team. It makes perfect sense, right?
But then his mom drops an absolute bombshell. Instead of agreeing with him, she completely turns the tables. She tells John that he does the exact same thing he's criticizing Bill for. And John is just floored. He has absolutely no idea what she's talking about.
And she doesn't explain it right away. She just lets that thought hang in the air all through dinner. Afterwards, it's time for their nightly family worship. It's a normal part of their routine, but tonight it is about to be the scene of a major aha moment for John.
It's John's turn to pray, and just listen to what he says. It's a nice prayer, sure, but pay attention to the pattern. It's the same 5 sentences, delivered the exact same way every single night. Thank you for the day. Forgive my sins. Bless my parents.
So, does this sound familiar? Not just because we just heard John say it, but maybe because it sounds a little like some of our own prayers. You know, repetitive, maybe a little formulaic, said without a whole lot of real thought. It's that conversation on repeat.
And when you put them side by side like this, the parallel is, well, it's undeniable. Bill has 5 phrases he says twice a day. John has 5 sentences he prays twice a day. Both are totally robotic and impersonal. Neither one is a real, heartfelt conversation. It's the same pattern, just in a completely different context.
After his mom points this out, John is stunned. It finally clicks. But then that leads him to a really important question. Well, what are you supposed to do when you pray? If that's the wrong way, then what's the right way? And that's a question I think a lot of us have probably asked ourselves.
And his mom gives him this really simple definition that changes everything. Prayer isn't about reciting a script. It's about opening your heart to God as you would to a friend. This totally reframes it. Prayer isn't a duty you have to perform. It's a relationship you get to enjoy.
So what does that actually look like? Well, just think about how you talk to your best friend. You tell them about your day, the good stuff and the bad. You talk about school, your friends, problems you can't figure out on your own, and you definitely celebrate the good stuff, like hitting a home run.
And you can almost see the light bulb just flick on for John. He realizes that prayer doesn't have to be this boring, repetitive chore. It can be a real, living, dynamic conversation. It could actually be interesting. The idea that he could talk to God about his home run changes his whole perspective.
So let's take this lesson and make it really practical. This is all about creating your own morning watch, a new way to start your day by having a real conversation, not just, reciting the same old lines.
And here's a super simple routine you can try. First, find a quiet moment, just like Jesus did. Second, just make the decision to open your heart, not just go through the motions. Third, talk about your day ahead. Share your plans, what you're excited about, what you're worried about with your best friend. And finally, fourth, ask what his plans are for you. Just invite God into your day.
So I'll just leave you with this. For a moment, forget what you think you're supposed to say. Instead, just ask yourself, what's one thing, big or small, that you are genuinely excited or maybe even anxious to talk about with a friend tomorrow morning? Whatever that thing is, just start right there.